You are comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man in Alameda, California, pushing on the doors of life marked pull and fighting the unholy trinity as we go. Big business, organized religion, and government. We are on the air, and my guest is the very special, provocative Carolyn Quinn from Brooklyn, New York. How you doing, Carolyn? You're the author of a newly released book, and I'd like to congratulate you. The name of the book.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm in California, and it's not snowing, and I thought that would be a novelty. How are you getting by the snowstorm?
Not a snowstorm at the moment, but it's about 6 degrees here.
Okay, and you're in Brooklyn, New York.
You better believe it.
You just got back from a book tour out west. You went up to Washington State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, to Washington. It was beautiful.
How did you like? Was it your first time in the Northwest?
It was, yes.
And you enjoyed it?
I loved it. It was just so nice out there. It's evergreen trees as far as the eye can see, and just beautiful. I stayed on the ocean.
Beautiful. And would it be a place you'd consider moving someday? I'm just curious. I'm not from the Chamber of Commerce or anything, but
I would love to move out there someday.
Yeah, it's a good place. The West is pretty cool. I'm trying to get bi-coastal and try to set up half of my life in Florida right now. I've been living out in California for a long time, so I could be closer to New York and maybe come up there in the spring and spend springs in New York and summers back out in California. Yeah, winters in Florida, summers in California, and spring and fall in New York, which is a great place in itself. I grew up in New York, in Queens. You're living in Brooklyn, but you're originally from New Jersey, am I correct?
Yes, from Mose Allison, Scotch Plains in New Jersey.
And someone somewhere along the line motivated you to become an author. Was it a teacher? Was it a mentor of some sort?
Well, my dad's an English teacher.
Oh,
so I kind of grew up with that. Kind of grew up helping him correct papers and stuff like this in the house, even when I was a kid. And so I always had that going on.
Now,
and I love theater. And that's how I got involved with the book that I wrote.
Right. And the name of that book is Mama Rose's
Turn. It's Rose's Turn is a song in the show Gypsy. And people call the main character Mama Rose, even though she's not called Mama Rose in the show. So we put it together and made it Mama Rose's Turn, and gives the chance for her to tell her side of the story, pretty much.
Wonderful. And where did you do your research? Was it in New York itself, or was it...
Mostly at the Performing Arts Library in New York, because Gypsy Rose Lee's family papers are housed there in a collection. And also I met family members of Rose. I met people that had known Rose. I met Rose's best friend's daughter and her husband, and all kinds of people that were involved with the story. And I also got a lot of newspaper articles and just did a whole lot of research, Gypsy's book and June's 2 books, and just put it all together.
Beautiful. And how does it feel like to complete a project like that? Is it almost an empty feeling, like, my God, it's done and it is what it is?
No, it's kind of like a hallelujah. It's like, yay, I'm done finally.
All right. Again, in my vernacular, mazel tov, which means congratulations.
Mazel tov works perfectly too.
All right. And, as a matter of fact, because I'm your Facebook friend, I know that there's some sort of a Jewish connection in your background. So you're partly Jewish.
I found that out with a DNA test, believe it or not, that I have some Jewish in me. Yes, I love it.
Really? Some Jewish in you, and that doesn't mean a lover or anything. That means that you got
in my DNA.
In your DNA. Okay, well, do you find yourself, since you found that, do you find yourself fetching more, nagging at all?
Not really, no.
Okay.
But, that might be a plan at some point.
At some point, at least you have that to fall back upon.
Yeah, I can do that and say, well, it's my Jewish blood. I'm allowed to kvetch.
All right, that's absolutely. And you're living in Brooklyn, so that's pretty cool. What do you do for a day job, just out of curiosity?
I work for a medical school.
Oh, okay.
Administration in a medical school.
And do you like it, or is it something you want to move on from, or are you working on your next book?
I'm thinking it might be something I might want to move on from at this point.
Okay. And how about your next book? Anything planned or any
thinking
ideas?
About writing a little mystery just because it would be fun to write something that doesn't require too much research. Because if you do nonfiction, it was 2.5 years of research that I had to do just to get started with this book, to get everything. And so if I write a mystery or something, I could just kind of wing it.
Okay.
Sounds like there'd be a lot more freedom in that.
What did you find out that disappointed you about Gypsy Rose Lee or the relationship she had with her mother?
Well, the situation with her mother, first of all, was fictionalized in the musical Gypsy. And it's a wonderful story, the musical. Very well-crafted story of a mother living through her children, but it's not exactly what really happened. So I was always interested in trying to find out what really went on, because there were so many different versions of what happened. Each daughter told a different version of the story, and the musical went in a whole other direction. So I wanted to go back and see what really went down. And I found out this was a really entrepreneurial family from Europe, from Germany and Luxembourg, and they came over here to the United States. They moved to Minnesota. Within about 10 years of arrival here, they owned a hotel. And it's a really cool immigrant story. That's how many people 10 years after they arrive here own a business. That these people did. They had a hotel, they had a restaurant, they had a candy store, all in this town, Farmington, Minnesota, that I'm going to go out to in April probably. And it's just amazing. And they had a tavern also. First they had a tavern until the temperance crowd was screaming and yelling. They closed that down and made it into a hotel. So they were very resilient. They kind of rolled with the punches.
Was she a typical stage mom that just wanted to get her kid notoriety? Because obviously they were doing okay financially with or without her future success. Or was she just driven in some way that was a little perverse?
I think the little girl, June, was a prodigy in ballet. And she was really phenomenal. By 3 years old, she was toe dancing. And there's photographs to prove it. And when she was about 4 or 5, she was in a movie. There's a clip of a movie called On the Jump, a Harold Lloyd silent movie, little clip of her. And she's really phenomenal. Even though she's in the movie for only a few seconds, it's like, wow, the steps this child can do at that age in toe shoes. And I think in those days, it was a legitimate way to make money. If you had a talented member of the family, a talented child, put the child in vaudeville, and you could tour the country and make a lot of money that way. It was not, I don't think she started out to be this pushy monster. I think she believed that she needed to encourage this child to dance.
Was it a loving family?
I think it was more loving than people realize, yes.
Okay.
But it was also, there were also problems, you know.
Okay.
I think Rose later in her life was imbibing too much of her own bathtub gin. She made and sold bathtub gin. It's kind of funny. And the thing is, I think she was drinking too much to the point she was getting out of control. And the problem seemed to start there.
Okay.
Start there.
Just from the sake of the relationship that you developed with the character along the way of writing a book, were you proud of her for her accomplishments?
I thought a lot of her accomplishments were very good, yes. And I thought, on the other hand, there were a lot of things she probably could have done better in her relationship with her children. I think there were a lot of mistakes she made that she maybe could have done a bit better.
Okay.
But these people, wherever they went, they could make money. They were kind of an inspiration that way. You could put them down in the middle of the desert and they'd sell cactus to the natives. I mean, there were those types of people. And it was really funny researching some of this stuff and finding out the things they were into. It was just, you had to laugh.
Right. One compelling reason to buy the book.
To find out the true story.
Okay.
Because truth is always stranger than fiction.
That's a very, very good expression. It really is. A lot of times you can't make up stuff. You just, I mean, you can't. You wouldn't believe it. Some of the stuff that's true going around. So
she pulled some blackmail stunts against her children that people don't know about. She was trying to blackmail them. They were Gypsy rather was supporting her in very good style, and she'd show up for court in a limousine that Gypsy paid for, driven by a chauffeur on Gypsy's payroll, and she'd say that my daughter's not supporting me enough. Stuff like this.
But she got there in a limousine. It's like the bankers
and
arriving.
And she got there in a limousine and wearing a mink. It's like you cannot make this stuff up. But you have to laugh. It's just like, you know, at the very least, don't show up in the limousine if you're going to sue for non-support. But
well, now that you're Jewish, I'll teach you an expression. It's called chutzpah, which means
exactly
gonads, right? That if you show up in court, you tell the judge, my daughter doesn't take care of me, and you show up in a mink coat with a limousine, the judge has to put one eyebrow up and just go, whoa, ma'am, let me have you go home and think about this for a while. So tell us where the book can be purchased. Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. It's on BarnesandNoble.com. It's also in the stores. It's on Kindle and it's on Nook. So it's just about everywhere.
Who is the publisher?
University Press of Mississippi.
University. Boy, I interviewed a woman the other day. Her name is Carol Ruth Silver, and she wrote the Freedom Rider Diary. And that happened to have been published by the University of Mississippi Press. So maybe after all, the South might rise again, do you suppose? Because that's
you never know.
You never know. It's a long shot.
Carolyn's writing books.
Right, to Kismet. Hey, you're a charmer. We know that. And I hope you'll come back and tell us how it goes. And if you have a project going, I hope you'll use this show as a venue to get it going in the future. And we're going to put this we're going to put this in a terrific slideshow and put it up on YouTube. And it's wonderful for me. I'm glad we finally got this opportunity to converse. You've been a good Facebook friend for a long time, and we have our differences. We have our differences.
We're allowed to have differences.
but we always seem to
If everybody on Facebook was alike, it would be so boring.
I know it would, but you and I, we're never going to be boring. We got it going, kid.
You know it.
All right, so I'm going to end this, and I'm going to end it the way I end most of my shows. I'm going to ask you to keep your humor dry and keep your dreams wet. Keep your kids out of recruiting stations. Military recruiting stations, huh? If you got keep it.
You got it.
And we may disagree, we may not disagree. Keep your kids off the laps of clerics wearing dresses. That's sometimes a good idea with the way things are.
The kids wear?
But, keep your kids off the laps of clerics that wear dresses.
Oh.
It's always good for the family. It just makes for a better family relationship. And most importantly, and I say this to you and I say this to my listeners, keep on keeping on.
You got it.
You're wonderful.
You too.
You're wonderful, Carolyn. We'll see you next time.
So are you.
Huh?
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Sure. Bye.